Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday night hangout with me and my friends. Um, we got Matt, Resist Tyranny, Guns, Gear, and Politics. We got Rick, Is Your Six Covered, and of course Rosie O'Kelly. And I'm going to let everybody do an intro, and I'm going to start with Rosie. Go right ahead.
Thanks, TR. Happy Tuesday, everybody, and I really enjoy being on the Tuesday night chats, not only to be with the panel, but also exchange and gain from the side chats. So a lot of you know my channel. It's a variety channel, everything from stereo rebuilding and baking to guns. It's all on there. So live hangouts, all that. So I really enjoy being here on Tuesday nights, and great to see you all. And happy Tuesday to Matt and Rick also. And let's get rolling.
All right. And Rick, Is Your Six Covered? Would you like to do a little intro?
Sure. Thanks, DR. Thanks, everybody on the panel. Appreciate another good Tuesday night chat with you guys and all you guys out in the external. So we should have some fun tonight.
Cool. Nice having you here, man. And we got Matt, Guns, Gear, and Politics. Go right ahead.
Well, thanks for having me on, TR. Yeah, not a whole lot. I was actually in the middle of editing a video when you called, so I'll finish that later. But it's a video, the differences between steel and plastic ammo cans, what they're good for, and such and such. Got some more things in the mail on the way to review. Got a couple things that I've been dragging my feet on to review. Still thinking about that Second Amendment chat. If I do it, it'll start up. If I do it, it won't start up until the end of May or beginning of June. So still rolling that around a little bit. But thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. We talked about a couple of things that we may get into as this chat goes on, but I would, just as normal, if Rosie has any ideas on the economic forecast for us, if you would like to talk about that for a minute or not, it doesn't matter.
Sure. It's not the most active time right now, but things are considered continuing along pretty much as I figured that they would be at this point. It's very interesting, you know, not only do people come together for Federal Reserve meetings, and you have people from various districts, Kansas City, San Francisco, Dallas, Boston, Richmond, Atlanta, they'll come together for their meetings to decide Fed policy, but another thing that they do is they go out and they have speaking engagements here and there. So investors and investment professionals tend to follow these speeches very closely, and it's interesting when you see some of the speeches that get reported from some of these governors, these various district governors. It's interesting to see how they vary from realistic to optimistic to pessimistic in nature. And of course, Janet Yellen, the chairwoman of the Federal Reserve, she's the one that gets all the attention. But I tell you, when you can, if you can ever pay attention, if you get little blurbs in paper and things like that, excerpts of, you know, this Federal Reserve governor was speaking here, because they have very different opinions about what's going on. And of course, Janet Yellen is paid to bang the drum and things are great and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's what's continuing to drive this market up here, is the combination of the very easy money that we have right now, which is no secret for the last, 3-4 years here with our QEs and all that. We've just flooded with liquidity. The investment opportunities are few and far between, except for the stock market. And it's very interesting that Janet Yellen continues to discuss the economy and the world has some really underlying weakness issues, which we know it does. And therefore, the Fed will continue to be very moderate in terms of increasing interest rates. So I would say, again, if you're thinking about refinancing, home or borrowing long term, is probably an ideal time now to lock in because number one, the credit restraints are kind of thawing now, and they may solidify overnight, you know, the requirements to borrow money for the long term. In other words, interest rates may go back down to the 1.5, 1.6%. They may go to zero if the Fed's dream of negative interest rates come true. But in that environment, you may not be able to borrow. There may be nobody willing to lend to you. So it's almost like an ideal time to lock in a decent rate and be pretty much assured that you can get a loan. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that the bubble scenario is looking more and more like it's going to come to pass now, as basically every time the market tries to sell off a little bit in the investment markets, they're buoyed right back up again. And we're not that far from an all-time high, and if we manage to clear that on some of these markets, all bets are off. As I said, you could be seeing this once-in-a-lifetime phenomena, or once in several lifetime phenomena of a runaway kind of market. So it's going to be very interesting to observe, especially as we get close to trying to make a run on the all-time high. Oil prices continue to stay relatively low. I know they've creeped up at the pump and things like that, but a lot of that was really what we call a dead cat bounce, and a lot of you know, it had fallen so far so fast that it's not unusual to have you know, we bottomed at 26 something a barrel. We're around $38, $39. It's not unusual to have that proportional of a bounce, especially if you've come down from $70, $80 a barrel to that point. It's not unusual to have that bounce. The question is, you know, what's going to happen on the longer term? And the reality for the oil markets is that anytime prices even reach a remotely profitable level for marginal producers, they're going to be cranking up production again. And in fact, we've really barely reined in production at all, even with these prices, because everybody's thinking it's a short-term sort of phenomena. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we adjust to the possibility of these low long-term oil prices. Gold and silver still been bouncing in here between 1,200 and 1,280. I still think there's a real good bid underneath of them, and still a place to accumulate positions for the long term. So that's about the update right now, everybody. Unless everybody has any questions or anything, it's a really kind of you know, very calm sort of period here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been, you know, keeping up more and more with the market and stuff, and right now it's just kind of a wait and see. I don't know if that's what you meant, but that's kind of what I've been seeing. It's just kind of, it's just, you know, been doing this little teeter-totter and just kind of wait and see kind of thing. But I agree with you that it's just a matter of time before it goes down again. I mean, that's just the history of it. You know, I mean, that's just history repeats itself. Every 7 years it crashes, and we're there again. So
yeah, well, the thing we want to be careful of is, you know, there's a lot of legislative things on a lot of local levels. California's talking about a $15 minimum wage statewide now. Friday's also the employment report for March. April 1st is this Friday, and of course the first Friday of the month we typically have that report that comes out, and it's going to be very interesting to see the strength or any weakness within that report, because it almost defies imagination that you could be doing 7 years, quote unquote, in a recovery off of the bottom, and yet we still have interest rates that are almost at unheard of levels here. So there's something, you know, there's something just not quite right in the mix that makes me scratch my head, and yet I'll go with the flow. You know, if liquidity is that ample and there's so much money flying around and so little other opportunities, and if people get the bit in their mouth and start running, You know, the best thing to do sometimes is jump aboard the train as opposed to trying to slow it down. So we'll see.
Well, the only thing I have to add to that is I can see her over there in the corner. Tell Jen we said hi.
Oh yeah, she's over there. Jen, they all said to say hi to you. She's got her headphones on.
But I mean, aren't we left in the position that we're not going to stop the economic disaster, whether it trickles in or whether it crashes like a freaking avalanche? Could be anybody's guess. But we can't stop it. The people don't have enough control to stop it. So we're really left with no choice but to take it for to take this train for the ride that it's on right off the cliff, and hopefully we survive and we're prepared enough for what's coming.
Yeah, I would say that's correct. The other thing I would add to that is that we passed the 20 trillion, and I'm just talking about direct federal debt here, not indirect, of our national debt. And remember, although we're closing the gap towards a balanced budget, we're still borrowing and spending more than we take in taxes and things in a year. So we're not really spending down our indebtedness. All we're doing is potentially setting the table for some type of inflation that could potentially get out of control in the future with trying to monetize all this debt, because there's just too much to deal with now. There's just too much state debts. There's too much local debt. There's just too much debt that's been floating that can adequately be serviced on the type of economy that we have now. We're just not having those decent jobs being spun out by the economy anymore. By and large, it's still the service sector, a little trickle in manufacturing here and there, but probably our debt grows disproportionately to our ability to repay that, and that's my concern. The things do reach a point where they do get parabolic and they do get out of hand, and if interest rates do rise, you have to also consider the compounding effect that has on the debt. We've been scraping along at 2%, 3% interest rates. It's been very fortunate for the Fed's been able to buy down some of the older debt from the 70s, those 20, 30-year notes and things, and put 10-year notes out and really keep interest rates very low. But you can only do that so long, and then even the slightest little uptick in rates on a very huge, massive borrowing, you can imagine the leverage effect that has on the federal budget if interest rates double, which to us wouldn't seem like a lot, from 1.8 to 3.6%. Well, it's going to double the debt service up for future debt for the government. So you're exactly right, Matt. There's a catastrophe here somewhere. It's just like, how thin of ice do you want to skate on and take your chances before the music? It's almost similar to what some say, rearranging the deck chairs and playing musical chairs on the Titanic. I mean, we all might think we have a seat at this moment, but we're all kind of doomed when we go down beneath the waves. So it's almost like a never land of fiddling while Rome burns.
Well, what do we have to look forward to? It took 237 years for the federal government to accrue just under $11 trillion in debt. And notice, people, I did say the federal government, not us as a general term. But it took 237 years for the federal government to accrue just under $11 trillion. It has taken, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's Barack Obama's fault, but it has taken him just under 8 years to accrue over $9 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is this what we have to look forward to? Is the next president topping that by 230 years.
You have to. I mean, look at what Colorado Biker Prepper put down there. It doesn't matter who's in charge. Nothing will change. It's a mathematical equation at this point. There's nothing to disrupt what we call that parabolic curve of increase. If you see something slopes up with compounding on what we call an exponential type of function, well, that, you know, as you get further out on the curve, you start to rise at a more rapid rate. We've been living in this great area of super low interest rates because, well, it's in the Fed's interest. It may not be in the retired people, but that's not going to last forever. And, you know, it was said exactly right. It doesn't matter who's in charge. The mathematics is going to hold sway at this point. So you're going to either service that load of debt by tremendous sacrifice and a caved-in economy, or you're going to print your way to some type of inflationary stagflation nightmare, or you're just going to repudiate it. So that's the only three viable choices that are out there. So when people say gather ammo, gather silver, I agree with those things. Get something real, get something tangible, get something protective. I just don't think that it can be beat.
Hey Rosie, Pop's Quest had a question about derivatives market. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, derivatives are really a way that just allows you to get another play on top of an asset. If a bank makes a loan and resells it into the mortgage market, a lot of these repackagers will strip that off into an interest rate component and then sell a piece of that to people for basically a bet on the future. And it's just a way to leverage returns in there. And it's great when it's working for you, but the derivative markets can destroy you too because of their tremendous inherent leverage. It's a very complicated thing to get into with the derivatives market. Let's just say it's instead of one person betting on one horse, you have 100 people betting on the same horse with 100 times the money riding on it and at risk. This is what's called a leveraged and derivative type of market, and especially when it comes to package things like mortgages. And it's like I say, when times are good, it's great, but when times go bad, these derivatives have to be paid off, these bets have to be covered. And this is how institutions go belly up, like your Lehman Brothers and institutions like that, because they're too levered, they're too geared up, imagining that nothing's ever going to go south, and then they get screwed when things do go south because they're holding too many obligations and not enough chips. Yeah, derivatives are like rich guys gambling. They're bets that give you for a small price, you can take a big position on something.
Now in craps, you can bet the line. I can't think of what it's called. It's not the pass line.
Yeah, it's the pass line. Yeah.
No, but where they're gonna crap, where you're basically betting against the table.
Yeah, it's called the don't pass. Yeah.
Don't pass. Do they have one of those for stocks?
Oh yeah. For most of these bets that are created, there's an offsetting bet to. In other words, for every share of stock that's bought, there's somebody that sold it to you. Well, the derivative market, in the stock market, you can make money by shorting a stock. That is, borrowing it from somebody that has it and say, look, I'll give it back to you. I just want to borrow it. I'll cover your dividends and stuff and give you make sure you get your dividend paid, but I'll return it to you at a later day, and you're expecting that stock to go down, and then in a year, if IBM goes from 100 to 40, you give him back his 100 shares of IBM at 40. Well, he got his 100 shares back, and you put the $60 difference in your pocket on those shares. You sold high, and you bought it and covered it and bought it at low. Well, options are the same way. You got put options, which allow you to make money as things go down, and you have call options, which allow you to make money as things go up. So it's equally easy to make money on the downside as it is on the upside. It's just that far fewer people understand and can get their head around the idea of how you make money when something goes down in price. But it's a good tool to have in tough times.
Very cool.
Yes, in a lot of ways it's like a casino. In a lot of ways they sell it as protection. They used to call it portfolio protection in the 90s. We'll just buy some puts, and that way if the market goes south, the bets on things going lower will increase in value as your stocks go down. So it'll offset or put a floor underneath the values there.
I had a question. All right, let's just say all these people in the exterior and the people in the panels. Let's say you have a 401k. That's the way, if you work for a company for a long time, and you got some money invested in the 401k, right? And you're basically knowing that the economy is going to crash, but your options of taking your money out are basically get hit hard with penalties, all right? To turn it into silver or whatever you wanted to do. Or what do you think your best options are to try to protect your money without taking a penalty?
That's the hand tying aspect of 401ks. When I used to be, when things were not self-directed IRAs, when you went from company pensions that would not vary except for maybe cost of living, that was pushed all on the people. So the choice is, you either have a great plan that allows you to move your money. Almost everything's within a tax-sheltered umbrella, okay? Should be. But some people are forced to buy the company stock as a match. Other people are offered options. You could put your money into an annuity. You could put your money into short-term government bonds, long-term government bonds, money market. You could have a diversified stock choice. But that's not always the case with a lot of 401k plans. The choices tend to be limited. So if you're a believer that in the longest run, and this is going to sound stupid in light of what I said, but if you're a believer in the longest run of capitalism, and the ability of companies to preserve themselves even in an economy where the government's screwed up. In other words, is Clorox going to stay in business if things bad happen to the United States? Yeah, probably they will. They'll find a way to continue doing what they're doing, and if you're invested in them, you'll be along. There'll be some bumps in the way, but you can bet that these companies are going to adjust and find a way forward as they've always done. So if you keep your stuff very diversified into a broad range like S&P 500, you're probably okay for the longest run, barring this shit hits the fan, episode where we have here. And then that's that situation, Rick, where, gee, do you take the big tax hit and pull it out, which could be 30% or something like that? I mean, you really have to weigh that off very carefully, but I hope that people push for good alternatives within their plan. And people in the past that I've dealt with when I worked for Royal Bank of Canada and places like that, and we help companies set up pension plans, and we encourage people to demand that their companies offer or their institutions offer a range of choices within there. So sometimes if people make a call to the HR department and say, our pension plan's really limited in terms of what we can put our money in, they may broaden that out or choose another administrator like Fidelity or Vanguard or somebody else to come in with a wider range of choices.
Well, I know this might not be
Well, just to answer that, Rick, so if you had that broader range of choices, you could say, gee, I want to sell my stocks at this point in time because I'm really uncomfortable. We've had this ginormous blow off or whatever, this crazy bull market. I'd like to be able to put that into a cash account now, or have it in short-term money market or U.S. very short-term notes or something like that. That way you still avoid the tax, but your money's still, your money's safer within that umbrella of choices that you have.
Go ahead, TR.
I was just gonna say, I know I don't have a 401k right now, but when I did have one, I put it in bonds. When the market was kind of whatever, I didn't know what I was doing, so I just put it in something safe or fairly safe in bonds. But the thing about it was the company still matched 50% of what I put in it. So the way I looked at it is I was making 50% of my money
Yeah.
regardless. And so most companies usually put in 25%, if not 50%. Once upon a time, years ago, they actually matched it dollar for dollar. So you was making 100% on your money. But
Which is hard to resist. I agree. When you're getting 50 cents for every dollar in immediate return after vesting and all that,
Hey,
it's a great thing.
Not to brag, I was lucky enough to find a company, a department. Usually when you work for, like, I used to work for the state of California, so you had a retirement and all that. And then I went to work for another, like a city department. And the way they did their retirement, because they couldn't do, like, life, medical and all that stuff, they ended up giving us $2 for every dollar. And that is phenomenal. I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, "You got to be kidding me, right?" And they're like, "No, you're saying it wrong." I'm like, "Nope. For every dollar I put in, they match it with $2." And I thought that was just phenomenal.
Yep. It's hard to not do that. You're almost compelled to do that. And the advantages that you have for California and stuff is even if the CalPERS tanks or something like that, the California, the taxpayers are bound and obligated to make that up to them. So that's actually one of the safest places that you could be is in I don't know what you're in, Rick, but I'm just speaking for CalPERS and California's pension and retirement system out here.
I have CalPERS, but I only worked there 10 years. And then when I was a seasonal firefighter, I kind of grabbed some of that money because I was broke. And so I barely have anything in there. But the question I had was, I'm sorry I'm taking up TR's time here, but I did have a question. We talked about it a little bit before. But what do you think? Remember when Greece was having all the problems and people were trying to use their ATM? It was probably, a year ago now or whatever? 9 months ago or something like that. I basically put my 401k into basically retiring at 2015 and try to, like, lock it up where it couldn't get as messed with. Like if you're going to retire in 2042, you would be running stuff that's a lot more, what do you call it? I can't think of, aggressive, that kind of stuff. So I figured if I put it as retiring in 2015, it kind of locks it up into some really slow, non-aggressive kind of stuff. But in the end, it doesn't even frickin' matter because if the economy crashes, all that electronic circles and bullshit numbers are nothing, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's why I say you have to differentiate between what we call here on this panel the shit hits the fan type of event, where the reason you guys buy ammunition and we stockpile it here is for that event, but there's also the possibility that things are just shitty for a long time and things do go to hell. I mean, remember from 1929 to 1932, stocks lost 90% of their value, 90%, and the GDP was cut in half over that period in this country. Things can get pretty shitty pretty fast here. That's why timing is so critical, and it's almost a crime the way that these plans took all of the risk off of the companies, which is their right, and they stuck them on and the government, and they stuck it on the individual. You went from this defined benefits retirement system we had for years and years to this to the what they call defined contribution plan, where the company or the government's obligation ends when it puts that 50% in, it matches TR or whatever on his money. So You know, in a way, it's going to put people in a weaker position because a lot of people aren't qualified or comfortable making these decisions, and a lot of professionals aren't good at making these kind of decisions. You know, when things are going up, everybody looks like a genius. You know, but when things are hitting the fan, then it separates kind of the wheat from the chaff. So it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, like I said, I'm no financial expert, but I've been trying to get people at work to put their money into if they have 401s, just kind of suggesting they put them in bonds or the low risk, whatever it
Mhm.
is. I don't, I'm not crazy about them at all, but at the same time, the company I work at, they do match 50% up to 3% of your income. So, hey, you're making 50% on your money. If nothing happens, hey, there it is. You
Yep.
know, you don't need to make money on the bonds or stocks or whatever it is. The company's making it for you. So, just something I thought was
That's exactly right. It's just what are the choices within your plan? I don't mean to be nosy, TR, but within your 401k, when you have the opportunity to move money around, um, what are your choices?
it's like groups. You can do this group, this plan, this plan, this plan. You can't individually pick what stock is invested in. It's
Mhm.
just the aggressive one, the mid level, the low level. Kind of there's just there's a small choices, but like I said, you can put it in the very low risk, but it doesn't matter. The company is matching 50% of what you're putting in. So if you're going that route, hey, whether it makes money or not, it don't matter. You're making 50% on your money right off the top.
Yep.
If it don't crash and you can cash it out eventually, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's very hard. Partisan Gorilla makes a good point. 401k does not exceed inflation on the eventual return in most cases. It's true. I mean, if Warren Buffett over the long term is able to be happy with a 6% compounded return, that tells you what, that's considered an outstanding type of investor. So you're really not going to get rich on a 401k unless you're just in an unusual period of time and in an unusual setup. Like, remember when I can't remember the name of that damn telecom company that went belly up in the 90s and took everybody's money with it, and they closed their office. I don't know what that. I can't remember the name of the company, but therefore their retirement plan was you had to buy company stock to get the match. If you didn't, you didn't get the match. So everybody kept shoveling their retirement money in, and then at the last month or so of the company's existence, the board of directors said, hey, you know what? The rank and file can no longer cash out their plans for the next month or so. Meanwhile, they're selling all the Enron. They're selling all the shit that they can. This is the downside of what they call limited things, and I think some of these rules Congress put into effect to make sure that you weren't just bound by just the company you work for. Because it's too risky. I don't care if they're giving you a 50% return or not. I mean, look at Coca-Cola today. I mean, they're a big worldwide enterprise. Everybody loves Coke, but beverage soda sales are on the decline. They're under attack here and there. Things never stay the same in an economy. What's great this generation starts to fade. The only constant is change here. So if you're vested in Coke and you live and die by that, well, unless they're making real nimble adjustments to keep growing and get into fruit juices and energy drinks and follow the trend, well, you're screwed. So, those plans that make you buy the company stock and limit the times you can sell, they just suck. I don't even know if they're allowed under SEC guidelines anymore to have those in light of what happened to Enron.
Yeah. Mandy, I agree with you to a point. I mean, it depends on your situation. We're not all in the same situation. So I'm not in the market. I don't have 401k. I don't have any retirement whatsoever.
Well, Wingett says, man, you guys need to do some research, get out of the market now. Well, I'm in it for this because there's a bubble that's been created here, and I don't care if things go to crap. I've seen too many times in history, in my own history, where a bubble takes on a life of its own, far apart, and gets far detached from what's going on in the underlying real world. It's happened before. It'll happen again all throughout history. Bubbles are built, bubbles grow, and bubbles get popped. So for right now, I'm just sticking in. If I sense that things are getting funky again, of course I'll move out.
Wow, I'm kind of surprised. That was the first time I know a few people have has a wrench out there, but I did block somebody just now, which is the first time in several months, I think. Actually, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We only get a troll every once in a while.
You guys did it so fast I couldn't even read it in time.
I didn't even get it either. You got a real hit squad out there on that trigger. Oh boy!
Yeah, I keep my hand on the trigger all the time. It's ready to go.
Yeah, that's pretty fast. I look and it'd be all deleted by someone. And I'm like, damn, I want to see it. See, Harold's the same as me. I'm too slow.
Yeah.
You can't read fast enough.
All right, what you got going on, Matt? You want to talk about? You want to change the subject?
Look at that smirk.
He's thinking of the right words.
Hey, Matt, bring it on, bitch. Bring it on. Bring that shit.
No, wait.
Not yet? You're going to wait?
I'm going to wait.
Yeah, well, that was so serious. I'm almost afraid to change the subject. But I did talk about something before we went online that I have a pet peeve. This is just me. I'm sure other people feel the same way. Is paracord necklaces, which this is a paracord, of course, but it makes me cringe when people show off their paracord, whatever it is, and it's a necklace, and they do make breakaway paracord accessories, but what I like is like what a dog tag comes on, the ball and whatever they call this. They call it something, I forget. But if you're going to wear a necklace, at least have a breakaway or wear one of these, which will break very easily. Because I keep seeing freaking people on the bushcrafting, prepping, and all that, and they have some kind of paracord necklace, and it's like you're just asking to hang yourself. You know, I don't get it. And Matt had brought up a point about his boots and catch point.
Okay, so I posted a picture. If you follow me on G+, I posted a picture of my new desert boots, and it said, "Damn it, why do manufacturers always lace boots wrong?" And then Rick buys a pair of shoes, or has a pair of shoes, and I commented on them. Go ahead and say something, Rick, so that everybody can see what you're holding up.
That's the last one, too. Matt is mean. No. So on Facebook, right, when I was in high school and back in the days, I wore Vans all the time. So these have been sitting in the closet. These aren't from high school, obviously. But I'm like, fuck, it's a Vans day. I'm putting on the Vans. So I took a little picture of my feet. I'm like, I don't remember what I said, but I'm like, yeah, Vans Day. Flashback to high school or some bullshit, and the only thing Matt can come up with is they're tied wrong. He's like the cranky old guy.
They're tied wrong.
They're tied wrong.
Well, I mean, actually, Matt was. Let me just say, Matt was very kind because otherwise he would say you was a pussy for having those shoes on anyway.
You still might.
Well, I used to wear Airwalks. I thought
Airwalks. Oh,
I thought Vans were a little gay at the time, but yeah, I used to wear Airwalks. But no, they're tied wrong, and this is a safety thing. Not only is it a safety thing, anybody that's been in the military also knows this, but you never have that first lace bridging over top. You always have it under. They're tied wrong, Rick. This is like a pet peeve of mine. When I see people with shoes like that are laced wrong, that are laced like Rick's shoe, it drives me. I can't look at their feet anymore. It drives me absolutely insane.
all right.
But
Yeah.
that's a catch hazard. It's a fraying hazard.
A what?
Fray.
Oh.
It's a fraying hazard. It's a catch hazard. It's a trip hazard. They're wrong. They're just wrong.
Well, that happened sometime in the 90s or late 90s, and they reversed for the top. The bottom went to the top instead of through the bottom, under. I noticed that with a lot of shoes had big bulgy laces, and they seem to be overlaced instead of under.
I think Pop's got it right. Left coast laces.
It's a mad hazard, yeah.
Now in a boot, I could see that.
No, it doesn't change. You still go on
But
your
not
feet.
in a shoe.
No.
No. What are you gonna trip over? How about
No.
paying fucking attention? Pay attention.
No.
Don't trip on shit. Pay
It's wrong.
attention.
It's wrong.
Hey, I learned something.
No.
So you said your shoes are tied wrong, right? And I said, okay. Then I'm like, what the hell's Matt talking about? So I go online, and I'm driving, by the way, which I shouldn't do this. And see, in Fuzzfork says 6 knows everything. 6 knots everything. But there's actually a correct way to tie a shoe and a wrong way. Now, I'm not talking about the lacing of the shoe. I'm talking about how to tie a shoe. So if you pull, so here's the knot, and then there's the 2 strings coming from each eyelet. Now, if you pull the string, and your bow goes like this, you're tying it wrong. If you pull the knot, and it stays this way. I'm sure everybody's tying their shoe right now. Okay, so you pull the knot and it stays like this. It's actually a stronger knot, and I didn't know this till Matt said something, but so you would pull this string here and this string here, the 2 on the eyelet. If it turns like that, you're actually not tying it the tightest way you can tie it.
Well, see, I think you're missing the whole point because actually you should be wearing actual boots where your shoelace is underneath your pants anyway, and you're not going to get caught on anything.
There you go.
I'm in shorts.
I mean, now don't get me wrong, there's a lot of women in the audience, and they need to know this information, so go ahead, Rick.
Hey, I can guarantee you guys, I wear more boots than anyone on the panel.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
I have a pair of tennis shoes I haven't worn in 3 years because I only wear boots.
I still wear boots more than any of you guys.
No, you don't.
Right now is proof. Right now is proof that you don't, because we don't have Vans on. I got fucking work boots on. See that shit?
I still wear boots more than you guys.
Boots is the only thing I wear, period.
I got you guys on this one. It's all right.
So
you're
take
wearing
those
some kind of girly shoes right now, so what are you talking about?
This is to prove a point.
What? That you don't know how to lace shoes?
Yeah. I've been waiting to talk to you all night.
You take them boots, you leave the top loose a little bit. You take your pant leg, you put it in there, you tie your pant leg up, you tuck it in, you tie your boot around it, you tuck the laces in, you blouse that shit like a man is supposed to.
I don't know. I just got used to wearing boots, and it don't matter what day of the week it is. I just wear boots. I don't know. Plus, at work they give us like $70 a year to purchase a pair of boots. So every year I go get a new pair of boots. So I'm just constantly have a big supply of them, as I wear them out.
I didn't show you guys what I had to do to my last pair.
Oh, you did on another chat, but go ahead.
Did I? So this is my old pair of work boots. They're Wolverines. I don't mind Wolverine boots. Yeah, they're made in China, but they're cheap. They usually last a year or so. So anybody that's interested in a good left boot that's well broken in, let me know. I'll send it to you. So all this red, the liner in there, started coming away, started pulling away on my right boot, and got my foot caught in the boot so tight when I was trying to pull it off that I had to cut the entire backside of the fucking boot out in order to get my foot out of the boot.
The crowd's saying, "Move on, move on."
Well, the crowd doesn't know good conversation when they hear it, apparently.
Well, they're a little bit behind us. So.
It's unreal. I'll get it back to that. Shit. Yeah, I'm like, are you fucking serious?
If you don't like the boot conversation, you most certainly don't have to be here.
Well, I'll change the subject on something. How about Bernie Sanders kind of getting a second life here? Hillary may not lock this thing up so quick in the convention. What did he win? 3 Western caucuses. Washington State's are pretty important. We got Wisconsin coming up. I give him a good chance of winning Wisconsin up there. So
I will say that Bernie Sanders has proven to be more of a race for Hillary than I ever thought. I never thought that he would have. I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever. I mean, we all know where we stand on things, but he's proving to be a pretty tough candidate for her to fight against.
Yeah, I've been looking at the delegates, super delegates, and there's a good chance both of these conventions could be open, which would really be amazing. I mean, these crews and it ain't doing so bad when you look at the tally. With some of these big states to come, it could be coming right back up into Pennsylvania, and it's going to be interesting.
I don't know. I voted for Trump because I saw how he laced his shoes.
I thought it was how good his wife looked.
Actually, I don't even know what his wife looks like.
He's a billionaire. I'm pretty sure she's hot.
Oh yeah.
She's hot.
Yeah, you don't see rich people with ugly chicks. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think both these conventions are going to be brokered this year. Yeah. It's going to be long drawn out, probably.
It's very possible. Very possible. The thing on the Democratic side is the fact that Bernie Sanders is an open socialist. Hillary Clinton, oh my goodness, if you look at the history and what's going on right now, I mean, literally a lot of us think that she should be behind bars. So the choices are very limited on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, I can't really say it's much better, maybe better.
Well, that's why I said something like a you know, a draft candidate at the convention or something like that. I mean, that's what sometimes would happen in the old days. Is like, well, we can't put Joe Schmo's not going to carry the day. You know, Bill Blow isn't going to carry the day. Well, what about if we just draft X? Oh yeah, okay, we can all get behind that, and kaboom. You know, you have added a blue. I mean, these are just beauty contests, these primaries anyway. I mean, they're. I heard a delegate. I heard a delegate from North Dakota was on the Laura Ingraham show talking on there and talking about these. These are just like disasters. These primaries for the Republican Party. It's just every day giving Hillary sound bites for a general election and stuff. And this is not what the primary setup was supposed to be, according to him. It's like this stuff is so far off base, what's going on right now, so he just thinks this whole primary thing needs to be overhauled. It's just turning into a disaster.
Yeah, it's a mess. It really is. And the RNC has come out and said that, hey, the public doesn't pick the candidate, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how arrogant they are. I mean, it's like, to the point that I even heard on an interview, the guy was like, well, what do you mean you picked the candidate? Well, why are we voting? He just said, that's a good point. Why are
Yeah,
we?
it's just a beauty. It's a beauty contest. That's about what it really is. And if you go into an open convention, then these delegates probably won't be moved. It'll be moved to make somebody vice president or something like that. But these people might feel like they got a legitimate shot, even if they have far less delegates, that they have a chance to sway people and bringing them over to their side. So it's, I don't know, maybe it sounds self-serving in the interest, but it's something I'd look forward to seeing. It's been, I can't even remember the last time we had truly open conventions. That this is the way that they used to be picked. You know, in the old days, you'd get together in these sweatbox auditoriums and big armories and things and fight it out for a week or two. And then finally, everybody gets their tile. Well, let's just grab this person's the least offensive option of all and get them to run.
Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, I don't know the history. I don't know for sure, but what little bit I've seen, when Reagan got picked, he was in that category where he wasn't the what everybody voted for. But it might have been a situation where it was like pretty split up, you know, and he may not have had a majority, but he was somehow got his name thrown in the mix, and like I said, I don't know the history on it, but I know he didn't win the majority of the American public.
You look at the Constitution, doesn't say anything about primary systems, and that's all party politics and all that stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised eventually to see some kind of change where they claw back that just become too much of a Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey circus out there. It's been very detrimental to the reputations of so many people engaging in these. I don't know. Is it good for the parties? Is it good? I mean,
I think you're right. I think this may actually bring about some change that needs to happen. People may realize that this primary process isn't part of the Constitution, that it is just big business, big, parties doing their little thing that has nothing to do with the Constitution. And hopefully it'll wake a few people up.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel, Matt, watching the process, but it's been ugly this year, and I don't think it's benefited the Republicans.
Well, I think first of all, I haven't paid all that close attention this year. to a lot of the election stuff. I normally do. I normally watch every debate. I normally watch all, and I don't have TV, so I haven't seen any of the commercials, but I have heard the radio spots and all that stuff. I went very simple this year. Okay, so like in 2012, I voted for Gary Johnson, and yes, I agree and fully support the notion that if all disenfranchised Democrats and Republicans and those who don't vote usually would vote for a third party, we'd probably get a third party president. While that could happen someday, it's not going to magically happen this year. Unfortunately, just have to be real about it. I've preached that for many, many, many years about third parties up until now. Well, I guess Ron Paul was running as a Republican, so I did vote for Ron Paul. But really up until now, this is the first year I voted for a Republican. I've always voted third party other than now. And it was only because I refused to gamble this election on a sure loser. I refused to gamble the chance of Bernie or Hillary getting in on a sure loser. And so it was, for me, as far as what's happening this year with the elections, I said to myself, I really don't care who's attacking who. I do know that the Republicans, instead of attacking the Democrats, are attacking Trump, which they're kind of imploding, the party that way. But it was very simple for me. It was I'm going to vote for the most likely candidate that I think can win, that also shares the majority of my beliefs, or at least verbalizes the majority of my beliefs. And so, yeah, that's my take on this current run of elections. I think the primaries take too long. I think the money ought to be taken out of politics. I don't think anybody should be allowed to be donors to politicians. I mean, we could go into 2 hours of just talking about this, but my general take on these elections are they're a freaking circus, and I used my freedom to vote for who I thought would best represent me.
Yeah, it just seems like a feel-good exercise to me, and you contrast that to what it traditionally was, where all these delegates, in proportion to their representation in their state, would show up at their respective convention in some hot week in July or something like that, and start battling out, putting names up there and having a roll call, and then the arm twisting, and then the compromise candidates would, and that whole, some would call it ugly, I think it's a beautiful process, would unfold and be over in a week or so. So it wasn't these long, damaging months and months and months and opportunities for open mouth insert foot and stupid stuff that sinks a candidate in a moment of just tiredness or stupidity. I mean, that's what we risk in these primaries, waiting for the big gaffe to happen, as opposed to getting in there and elevating one candidate at the end of the process, and you've taken the whole thing down to its basic point that everybody can kind of get behind it. I don't see a lot of get behind when this primary season's over, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a mess. I don't know how else to put it. This presidential primary race is a mess, period. I had to say I'll support Trump just for somebody different, but other than that, I really don't have a good reason to pull for him other than he is somebody different.
Well, here's the thing, TR, is that it doesn't matter why you voted for him, really. or not voted for him. It doesn't matter why I voted for him. It really doesn't. You don't have to justify yourself to anybody. I don't have to justify myself to anybody. Here's the thing. At least you're trying.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm thinking back to 1932 when Roosevelt was drafted at the 32 convention to run. And of course, he'd been out stumping and giving speeches and things like that all over the country, but he was able to go into that, his people go into that convention and basically glad hand people and have this tremendous consensus behind him. And he almost came out like a folk hero out of that 1932 convention and onto the campaign trail against Hoover. The thing that strikes me weird is if Hillary Clinton wins or Donald Trump wins or whomever wins, they're not going to be liked right off the bat. I mean, I've never seen a group of people running that are going to be, it's like almost like they're going to be going in with lead weights tied around them. It's just, it's unbelievable. There's so much baggage and so much ridiculousness that gets pulled behind. It's almost, it almost is like a circus.
Well, the thing about, and I'm not making this a pro-Trump freaking chat by no means, because he could be the worst thing that happens to this country, but we have establishment on both sides running for office. We got Cruz is like the #1 guy that could probably get a nomination. His wife works for Goldman Sachs. She's actually a sitting member of the CFR. And then you have Hillary Clinton, who, need I say anymore? So anybody different than that, I'm pulling for, period.
I mean, people say Trump talks crazy, but the vast majority, the majority of the country thought Ron Paul talked crazy too. The majority of the country thought Ross Perot talked crazy.
And turned out he was right.
It turned out Ross Perot was dead on right.
Well, I'm just going to throw it out there, Colorado biker. Who do you think, out of Hillary or Cruz, is going to lead this country to a better place? Being that Hillary is the crook that she is, and knowing the history of that, all the way back to Waco, or Cruz, who was a Canadian, and his wife is a fucking CFR sitting member, who the fuck are you going to fucking pick? I'm sorry.
And I heard Cruz is going to jump out. He's bailing out.
Yeah. I mean, are you voting for the CFR to run this country? Come on.
No, I'm thinking we're gonna have a draft candidate come out of this convention.
Oh, Gary Johnson.
It's not gonna be pretty, but.
All right, I'll apologize to Colorado biker Gary Johnson. All right, I got you, buddy.
I would. He just got done shitting on me for, a third party will never get voted in, so he's throwing his vote away. He knows that the person he's voting for isn't going to get elected, so he's doing absolutely no good. So fuck him.
I'm voting for Trump, man. I voted for Trump on the 13th. The 13th or the 16th, can't remember now. But I want chaos. I want him to come in here and fucking change some shit. He can't be any worse. We know Hillary sucks ass.
Well, we've been voting for the same shit year after year, election after election. Let's try something different. Even if it fucks the whole system up, I think we actually probably need that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I want chaos.
Change you can believe in. Change you can believe in.
Trump is the best hope, Tracy said. I agree. When you got a big bucket of shit, you pick the shiniest fucking piece and go with it.
Yeah, I just think my own opinion is the rock is unmovable now. It doesn't matter what the president changes less than he thinks can be changed. You know, I mean, it's like it's almost too fucking big. It's too.
At least he's willing to say something.
Well, I mean, didn't
Politically
Obama
correct.
tell us? Obama told me the whole same thing in 2007 and 2008. You know, change you can believe in, and then he gets in there and it's like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, change it. No job.
And he's been
$94
nothing,
trillion.
nothing but a disaster. I mean, he's nothing's. You know, it's arguably shittier than it was when he came aboard. So
He's a fucktard.
And the thing about it, that's what really scares me about Hillary, because Barack Obama, as much damage as we think he did, or he did do, don't get me wrong, he was pretty laid back of what he could have done in 8 years. Hillary, I think, will go full fucking throttle and collapse this country. Or whatever happens after that. I don't know. It will go pure fucking communism, basically. I don't know. I don't know what the right term is. Probably not communism, but she is going to go after the fucking bull's horns if she gets elected.
Socialism, something like that. More government, more government, more government. I'm here for the government, and I'm here to help.
Well, all the white people voted for Obama, so to prove they weren't racist. So I'm going to vote for Hillary to prove I'm not a feminist. Or no, I'm not feminist, but chauvinistic.
There you go.
There's another wasted vote.
You know, half of me says I want her to get the nomination because she can't debate. Well, no, hold on, because she can't debate. She sucks at debating. She's not good under pressure, which is a very good reason she shouldn't be president. But she's not good under pressure. She cracks during debates. So half of me wants to.
She coughs.
Well, so half of me wants to see her nomination just to watch her crumble under the tension of the primary debates, or of those debates. The other half of me says I want to see Bernie get the nomination for Democratic nomination, because I think he's a sure loser when it comes nationally.
When it's just Trump and him?
Yeah, if it's just Trump or him, or even just Cruz and him. I think nationally, Bernie's a loser.
I would agree on both points. It's hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah, if you get Hillary out of there, you'd probably be better off, because the feminists, or whatever you called it, at least there wouldn't be that vote of availability.
Yeah.
I can't wait. This is the first time I've been actually pumped up about an election. And a lot of it has to do with just the way there's a lot of shit talking. There always is, but like a lot of it I agree with. So I'm like, yeah, keep that shit going.
Well, I think this is probably one of the biggest elections that I hate to say the biggest election in our lifetime, but at the same time, this seems to be the most important election that we've seen in a while. I can say that for sure.
Well,
See, I totally agree with you, TR, which surprises me that I do not agree with Rick. I am so not jacked about this election. Like I am every year, and like I am so not pumped about this election. But
yeah, but
normally I am. Normally I'm all about it.
Yeah, but I came from California, and I always thought that your vote doesn't count, because The percentages are already in before they even count California, and then we got a bunch of fucktards over there in the electoral votes, so it doesn't really matter what you vote for because they've already been processed. So now, living in North Carolina, America, I can say that my vote will actually count.
Well, if you live in California, your vote shouldn't count.
You know what? Go put on a pair of Vans.
Don't make me get my boots out.
I will pull my van off right now. Remember Eddie Murphy when he talks about his mom and the shoe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. Like a fucking what are those things called?
Boomerang.
Thank you.
But yeah, seriously, I am so not jacked about this election. That's why, when Rosie asked me what I thought about the whole thing, it was almost a non-answer that I gave because it's just I voted for who I wanted to vote for, and that's all the fucks that I have given about this election, really. You know, and it just we have the choice of all losers, including Gary Johnson. You know, he's for sure not going to win. And when I say losers, I mean that in all the terms. You know, losers as in like you're a fucking loser, and loser as in somebody who's going to lose. You know, we have a group of losers in one way, shape, or form, and I voted for the one that verbalizes what best represents me, and that's as far as I've really given a shit about this election.
Well, you know, I kind of take the opposite tack. Just for me, Matt, now I'm excited at the possibility of something happening at the convention that nobody's seen in a couple generations, and that's the possibility of somebody coming in and getting the nomination that didn't even go through the primary, which could be pretty cool. People start throwing names out. Yeah, let's call him up, see if he's willing. Yeah, hey, you know, I could go for that. And all of a sudden you see people jumping on the bandwagon, and you got somebody coming out of a convention that wasn't even in the whole process, and therefore comes out totally clean and you know, sparkling white clean and ready to go into a general election. No matter what Trump says, I don't give a shit. I mean, he says, you know, I'll sue, or, you know, fuck it. There's nothing constitutional about the primary process, and it's like Matt said, you got the big heads at the RNC say, hey, you know what? We're the bosses of this deal.
The only problem with that is if that happens and the majority of the people voted for Trump, like I said, I'm not saying that I'm 100% Trump, but with the choices I got, that's who I'll go with. If the majority of the people wanted Trump and the RNC picked somebody else, that will split the party, period.
Well,
and whoever wins the Democratic nomination will win the presidential election, period.
You know, that could possibly be the best thing. Eight years of like Hillary or Bernie could be the result of the conservative party, you know, the Republican Party getting split. And I don't mean split down the middle either, but like 3/4 of you know, Republican voters getting really pissed. That could result in that third party the following election year getting enough votes to be a contender.
Yeah, well, like you said, I mean, if it's, I've heard some in the Republican establishment say we're pointing for 2016 anyway, because, you know, let them have their sway. The only way we're going to rebuild the party is if they get so shitty on the other side that all of a sudden we're big again and desirable in there. So the only thing I think, TR, that you said about if Trump doesn't win and if the RNC takes it away from But what if it's taken away on the floor of the convention? Then it's different. Then it's kind of a different matter. If you don't have enough delegates to win, then that's the gauntlet you have to face when you go in. If you can't secure a first round nomination, well, is it the RNC did it to you, or you just didn't score well enough on the primary path to secure that nomination? I mean, I know the majority might feel upset, but you know, there's enough people that didn't vote for him that would probably be elated, and some people hanging on the fence if they had somebody that was an option that they didn't even think of before it wasn't declared.
Well, I think it'll shed light on the whole RNC GOP situation where they thought that we were voting for who we wanted to run, who we wanted, you know, and it'll shed light on the whole situation, because a lot of people don't know, they don't understand the process. But I mean, if a man wins, you know, 80 to 90% of the states, and then the RNC says, "Hey, we're going to put Mitt Romney in," there will be a total rebellion within the Republican Party.
Well, if he wins 80 or 90% of the states, there's no way that a convention will be open at that point.
That's true. Well,
Anyway,
it shouldn't be
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I'm just saying he'll, you know, it would be almost impossible at that point. But
well, he's only lost like 3 or 4 states.
Yeah, Trump would be. It would have been if he won Ohio. He lost that 60 votes. Yeah, I mean it's amazing the way the country, how much independence there is in state by state.
But I agree with Matt what he says, that maybe we need this to happen. I mean, I really don't want to see it. But if that did happen, maybe this split would be a good thing, and we could get, because right now we have the neoconservatives, the neocons that are running the Republican Party, and that's your, no matter what people think, you want to call yourself conservative, but if you're pulling for neocons, your John McCain's, your Lindsey Graham's, and all this, they're all for big government and war. And actually, a true conservative is anti those two things.
Absolutely.
So, you know, maybe it'll be a good thing. I don't know. We'll see.
I'd like to touch on, I think it was Winging It Tracy mentioned something about a third term for Obama. This isn't necessarily aimed at him, but there's a lot of people that talk about Obama making it so that he would get a third term. Congress has to do that, first of all. Obama can't. And with a majority Republican Congress, I doubt they would do that. And the circumstances are so extenuating to the point that they could do that. It's really unbelievable. They can stall elections, and only Congress can do it. But to actually change,
it's an amendment. It's a constitutional amendment.
Yeah, it's in the Constitution how they have to do it, and they have to do it one full election cycle prior. So they couldn't even do it for this election, even if they wanted to. Constitutionally speaking.
What, 2/3 of states have to ratify it? You know, change.
No, that's to change the actual date and that part. But as far as what the Constitution says, is that Congress can delay or waive a election, but in order to change, you know, in order for it to last until the following cycle, they have to make the announcement one full cycle ahead in order to prove they're not up to nefarious blah 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 whatever.
Yeah.
Now World War III, things like that those can delay an election, but it's only a delay, and it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a indefinite delay. So the chances of him getting a third term is, I mean, really.
It's impossible by what you say. All they can do is get an extended second term due to circumstances, whatever they are, that warrant, delaying elections.
A lot of people are bringing up with the martial law deal and basically saying if the martial law comes into effect, that they can, and basically Obama can run a third term, just meaning there's no election process, so he would have presidential rights, obviously.
Well, it would have to be national martial law, first of all, which is a near impossibility, if not impossibility. But it would have to be for other reasons, like safety reasons, things like that, like war. But then again, it's only a delay. It's not a complete, oh, you get 4 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, could you imagine 4 more years?
I think
People said,
is that another $4 trillion?
People said all those years of Roosevelt. Oh man, another term, 4th term.
I think Matt's right. I think even in the worst scenario, war or whatever, it may drag out another year, but there would still be an election, a process of change to the next president. I don't think it would. I definitely agree. It wouldn't go another 4 years.
Redneck says, or ride over the election. Do you think this country would ever ride over an election? I just don't see it in the makeup to ride. I mean, we just sit around and wait for the courts to duke it out and all that. Lawyers.
Only if they stop broadcasting whatever the latest freaking show is on TV. Then they may.
Keeping up with the Kardashians or something. You know.
Because if we all know, as much as we think people are paying attention, they're not. The majority, everybody out in the comment section is watching. Here on the panel, we're watching. But the people out there on the everyday people, they're not paying attention. They ain't got a fucking clue what's going on. And I'm not trying to insult them, but it's just the way it is. It's just the facts.
Yeah, that's why I just be interesting, but I just can't see a ride over an election. I just see people, oh, well, The Simpsons comes on in 10 minutes, let's click it on.
Exactly.
Do, 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 do. Oh!
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but it's true. I mean,
no, I'm not a Ted Cruz. I'm a John Kasich. I like Kasich.
Yeah, Nicole's right. Most people don't care enough to open their eyes. I don't even think it's so much that they don't care to open their eyes. They're just happy being blind. They're happy being, not caring. Because if you actually open your eyes and care, you have to act on it. So as long as you don't know what's going on, you don't have to act on it and have a guilty conscience. So they just keep their eyes shut, live in denial.
People were, somebody was asking, I don't know whether it was Gorilla or somebody on the side was talking about congressional elections. Yeah, you really don't hear a lot about that. It's just not not kind of the focus. I don't think there's going to be any kind of big change within the composition of Congress anyway this cycle. There's not enough meat there to sway, I think, people change on that level. Probably same old, same old.
Yeah. I don't even I don't even know where to go with this.
Well, I've been sitting there researching the martial law thing, that the bit that people keep talking about, how that would stop the election, and absolutely nowhere can I find that.
Yeah, it's not there.
Yeah, I can't. Well, first of all, martial law is not even talked about in the Constitution, so it's not going to be there. The suspension of habeas corpus is in there in the Constitution, but martial law itself is not. The closest thing to martial law in the Constitution is Congress calling on the militia to enforce order. Yeah, I can't find it anywhere. Outside of if martial law coincides with World War III, then there's the delay, aspect I was talking about. But yeah, I can't find it. Can't find it anywhere. I mean, you go to InfoWars, you'll probably find it. You go to "This is my tinfoil hat," you'll probably find it.
Yeah, I just think that's correct. It's not in there. It's super constitutional. It's apart from anything in the Constitution.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. So I went to the gas station just to pick up a few items, and this old man, I don't know how old he was. He was old though, and he was probably on a fixed income, and he was trying to get a newspaper, right? And it was probably what, $1.25 or whatever it is. And I pull up, and this old man is fucking just, and he's not stopping. I mean, 10 minutes went by, and he's doing this still. He's trying to get that, I don't know what the hell he's doing, the thing to open so he can get the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy's fucking crazy. And then I go inside, I grab a 12-pack of beer and some iced tea, and I'm sitting there getting ready to pay, and you can hear him out there, and he's got the machine, and it's hitting the gas station building, and then he's rocking it back the other way and hitting the gas station thing, and I'm like, what the fuck?
He would just not be denied.
In the end, the reason why I bring this point up, and it's taken a while, and I'm sorry, but I'm sitting there waiting, and he actually comes in, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. He comes in, and he waits he waits for his turn, and he basically says, hey, can I put my name on the list, I guess, because it took his money, right? And I'm thinking, and then I'm all, you know what? I'm all, kudos for this guy. First I'm thinking he's fucking crazy. And then I'm thinking, you know what? This is a guy that stands up for his shit. Like, I probably would have put the dollar, I think it was like $1.25 or something in. Probably shook it a couple times, and then just said the fuck with it, right?
Yeah, curse your luck.
This guy did this, and I'm not exaggerating. This is like 10 minutes, because I'm in there walking around looking for stuff to buy, and I can hear the machine hitting the building. And then he's rocking it back and forth, and I'm thinking, so then like I said, I'm thinking this guy's freaking on his rocker, right? And he goes in, and he's kind, he wants to put his name and number down so that the paper can, reimburse him for a newspaper or whatever. But then I'm going, how many people actually stand up and say, you know what, fuck getting screwed, I'm tired of this, and actually, deal with it? Like, what do you guys think? At first I'm thinking he's crazy, and then I'm thinking, you know what? There's a true American fighting for his rights. Like, is it so much a right? No, but
I guess it's a value proposition.
And he wasn't going to put up with that shit, and good for him. What do you guys think?
I think it's a value proposition, Rick. I mean, maybe a dime was worth more relatively back then, but didn't you grow up and see people taped on soda machines? This machine owes me $1.25, and put your name on there as if the guy that comes to service the machine is going to call you up and tell you, I got your 25 cents. or something like that. But this is a guy that would not be denied. This is a guy that was not going to be ripped off in the machine age. So I'll be very interested in following that story to see if he actually, if he ever actually got his compensation.
You know what? And that's the thing. I was really thinking about doing a video on it because I was looking at him, not videoing him, but talking about it. And I'm like, good for him to stand up and say, you know what? You're not taking. It was like a buck, I think, $1.25 though. You're not taking my $1.25. Kiss my ass. I'm putting in my name, and I want my money back. Good for him. True American. Don't put up with shit.
Yeah, well.
You know what? I probably would have said, "Stupid machine," and walked away. And that's bad.
Most people would, I think. They'd say, these machines are always shitty,
I didn't catch that, Rick. Can you repeat that?
No. Hey, go tie your boots.
You might hear it. My earphones were off, Rick. Did you? Oh boy!
All right, totally change the subject. I experimented. I haven't loaded them yet. I know my camera's not focusing. But, oh, there he is. That is a powder-coated bullet. So I'm going to try some powder-coated rounds in the Glock, which they say don't shoot lead in. Instead of lubing them traditionally, I'm powder coating bullets and trying that. So we'll see how that goes.
Interesting.
What's that do to the diameter?
It does increase it a little bit, but the thing about everything I've kind of read and looked into and some good channels that talk about this is your barrel is the best resizer you have. So as long as it chambers and shoots, the barrel will make it the size it needs, and hopefully cut down on the leading. After about 200 rounds through the Glock, it does start leading the barrel up pretty good. So I'm hoping this will change that, that I can shoot a little bit more without having to clean the barrel. So I'm trying to get away from buying a Lone Wolf barrel because I do shoot lead, or whatever barrel, but Lone Wolf is the most popular one. So trying something different. Because I'm not giving up on the Glock. I just, trying to shoot it as cheap as I can.
Well, TR, I think at least the first one's going to work.
Yeah.
Now, I actually have seen this. There's a guy, Fortune Cookie 45 Long Colt. He's the one that I found this out about. You can go to Harbor Freight and buy the powder coating. You put it in a regular tumbler, like you would a vibrating tumbler, like you would clean brass with.
Ultrasonic.
Anyhow, it kind of coats the bullets, and then you put it in the oven, which I bought a oven, like a $20 little oven, just a little toaster oven, and baked it on. So we'll see. Just trying to change the conversation a little bit. Because, yes, I still carry my Glock. And
I need to get since we're talking guns, I need to get an AR front sight tool.
You're just going to sell it anyways.
What?
You're just going to sell it anyways.
Actually, I passed up a chance to sell it yesterday.
What the hell?
because it was to somebody I know. He wanted to buy it, and I said I can't, in good conscience, sell it to you.
Someone's in love with... Hey, TR, I gotta say this. I don't know what's been a month, 2 months since you bought your Glock. There's a lot of the G word coming out of the old TRprepper. You know what? Welcome to the club, fanboy.
Making that trigger pull, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I can't shoot it as accurate as I have. I can other firearms, but I can shoot it accurate enough to hit a target. And the lightweight is so lightweight. Like I said, I bought me a really nice Galco holster. This is my carry rig, and man, this thing is lighter than any 1911 that I carry. And then I got 18 rounds of ammunition at my disposal. So,
Nice.
to be honest, I have to say I kind of like it. I really do.
That's what happens to all of us, my friend.
Like I say, I may not be the most accurate with it compared to others, but I'm accurate enough. I know I did a video of last week or week before last, and I was kind of, calling you shot, kind of deal, whatever, but it didn't matter. I mean, I could bring the gun up, even though I didn't hit the bullseye. It was a paper plate, a 9-inch paper plate. I could hit the paper plate every freaking time. So that's accurate enough.
Yeah, and if you want tighter grooves, just get a trigger or polish the one you have. Put a 3.5 pound in there and call it done.
Yeah.
Gotta love Glocks.
So Galen, I think it was Galen. No, it was John Gacy. I have to go back. I don't want to give the wrong person, put the wrong name out there. John Gacy, yeah, said use the tip of the bullet.
I thought he said a pen.
No, somebody else said a pen.
Oh.
And I mean, I kind of get what he's saying, but it doesn't seem to be working. I can't get it to come out of that first position, or out of that.
That was the intention when they made that sight, but yeah, it don't work real good.
I can see that. Just need to lower it a little bit. Is all I need to do.
What they intention, what they forget is when they issued those to the people in the military, it had that third option on the select lever where you went full auto. And it really didn't matter then.
It didn't even matter. That's right. Something's going to get there.
That's just a backup anyways, right, Matt?
I love that. I love in a TR that the third option is like it don't even fucking matter. There it is, lock and load. Spray and lead, baby.
Yeah.
Somebody said something about a ballpoint pen. Oh, thank God somebody timed out Alpha Wolf. Yeah, JXX said they use ballpoint pens in the Marine. I just haven't been able to get this. I just need to lower it probably 2 clicks, 2 positions. But I'll be damned if I can figure out how to do it with anything I have at my house.
Well, what you may have, and I run this with one of my ARs, is it'll only go so far down, and it still may not be low enough for 100 yards.
I got it to move out of the position.
I know one of mine, I bottomed it out, and it's still too high at 100 yards.
Yeah, I might. I mean, like right now, if I turn my primary arms on and just basing it on the dot, right? The dot is like, I can just barely see the front sight, the top of the front sight post peeking out above the dot.
Well, what I did with mine is, and this is just mine, I don't know, they're probably all different. Since I couldn't lower that front sight low enough for, like I said, 100 yards or less, um, I lowered it as much as it would go, but I rely on the red dot for close range, because that red dot can, you can put it wherever you want. And so I just kind of think of the hard sights for 100 yards or so, and I use a red dot as far as, me practicing whatever, close range, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, a AR-15 or M16, the minimum it's sighted in for is 300 yards. You're not even supposed to be able to sight it in at 100 yards.
Right.
So, which we know that that's where it should be, within 300 yards, but that's just the way they do it.
I mean, I could, knowing the position it's in, I can always lower, my view, change the view and not sight it correctly, but sight it low and probably get the same desired effect, since they are backups, But, yeah, I don't know.
I say you need to get some Tula ammo and run the shit out of that thing and make some videos.
Dude, I've been meaning to get out the desert. I got like 3 or 4 shooting videos I've been meaning to do. And first, it's been windy as fuck here. I mean, like today was so windy that, even in the... What do you want? Why?
Cat time.
Yeah, it was so windy we were having problems at work, even with the doors only cracked, welding. I mean, it's just been horrible windy out, and so it's not like I'm gonna make a video out there anyway. In that, you'll never hear what I'm saying. You'll see my lips moving. You'll see me talking about the gun. You'll just hear.
Yeah, same thing here. We got that seasonal shift in that high pressure's building over Nevada, that whole dome right now, and it's like windy as hell here too.
All right. While we're talking about guns and ammo, another pet peeve of mine, it still kills me, people whining about steel case ammo. I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, Matt, for sure, but I still don't get people with ARs that whine that they can't shoot steel ammo in their AR. It's like, really? What kind of piece of crap AR did you buy that the steel in the extractor, the barrel, the firing pin, whatever else it is softer than that Chinese steel or Russian steel, whatever, that you're worried that it might scratch your freaking gun? Grow up.
My absolute favorite when it comes to steel ammo, steel case ammo like Wolf or Tula or something like that, and AR owners, is my rifle never malfunctions except when I run steel case. So it malfunctions. Yeah, but that's the only time. No. But it can't run all the ammo on the market, so it's so it's got problems. No, it doesn't have any problems. No, stop making excuses, man.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Hell, I did a torture test on my own fucking gun and found out that my extractor spring had wore out. But now, granted, this was after shooting 2,000 or 3,000 rounds through it. Yeah, maybe that's not good. I don't know. But once I replaced the extractor spring, boom, I went back and did another torture test, and I mean, I run it so fucking hard that it was actually cooking off. And I know you've seen it, Matt. I mean, this son of a bitch was chambering around and popping off around full auto. I had it so fucking hot. That's when I was sticking it in a 5-gallon bucket, cooling it down.
Wow. Jesus.
Yeah, if you can't run steel ammo, get a different gun. That's all I gotta say. I mean, you make all the excuses you want, but I don't run steel ammo because it doesn't work. You know, because it doesn't run right. Yeah, but it's not a dependable firearm then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Well, that was one of the things that I did, did in my test. I figured out that if you don't have anti-tilt followers in the magazines, they'll cause problems. And I had to upgrade the extractor in my AR. But once I done that, it did fine. It did fine before that. I just never ran it hard. What would happen in a firefight? And that's what I did. I put it to the test. I had 10 magazines on me, and I was popping them in there just as hard as I could go, pulling the trigger just as fast as I could go, and I had problems. So I figured out what the problem was. Anti-tilt followers I needed, and the extractor. And once I done that, done the second test, boom, worked flawless. So I don't care what kind of gun it is. If it won't run hard, you need a different gun. I agree. And I had a shitload of people, oh, you messed up your gun, you stuck it in water. And I was like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. You just don't understand metallurgy.
No break-in period. Will run any round I put through it. Been buried in mud, filled up with dirt, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you name it, TR, you've seen a lot of it. It still functions flawlessly. With Tapco magazines, there's the occasional feeding issue with Tapcos. With steel mags, runs flawlessly. So that's a magazine issue, not a rifle issue. Just like you were talking about the followers. Yeah. I don't know what you AR guys are bitching about. They make rifles that run just fine.
That's what John Gates.
I'll put my AR up against any other. Oh, wait a minute, that's AK. Never mind. Let me. Yeah, I'll put my AR up against any AK. You gotta love them both. They're fucking awesome weapons.
Yeah, and most people know I'm just fucking around. I mean, I'm an AK guy, but their ARs have their plus sides, or at least one.
Accuracy.
Hey, Matt, I ordered a couple of magazines, actually 3 magazines today. Have you used the Tapco AK mags that are smooth-sided?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're pretty good?
I don't own any, but I've used them.
Okay.
They run about the same. I mean, they're still what I consider to be a reliable magazine, and they're like any other polymer magazine out there. You're going to have problems occasionally because of the process of injection molding and all that, but no, internally they're essentially the same.
Okay. I seen a deal on today, and I didn't know exactly. I didn't know anything about them, so I only ordered 3, but they were only like $10 a piece. So. Figure I'd give them a try.
I've been meaning to get a few. What you're going to like about them is, let's see here. I know I've got a Tapco AK mag here somewhere. There's one. This is one that Long 13 hair painted for me. But, you know, anybody that knows anything about Tapco mags knows they've got all these ribs on the outside. That makes it, for some mag pouches, whether it's on your rig or on your hip, makes it harder to pull in and out, like to put back in the pouch or out. Those slab side ones, those smooth side ones, are real easy to yank in and out of any mag pouch. I don't care if it's a taco pouch or just a standard Cordura, you know, fitted pouch. So that's the nicest thing about those slab side ones.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the Condor vest I have, when you run AK mags in there, you have to pull them in a sequence because of the round part.
Mm-hmm.
But also all that bracing, you know, that's to make it structurally tough.
Yeah, if you got taco pouches, you know, taco pouches, their retention is that fucking bungee cord. Now they're good pouches, but because of the retention and how they stay in there, it has a tendency to catch. So you're like if you're running bullets up or bullets down, it doesn't matter, on say battle belt, you end up grabbing the mag and you kind of twist, and then get it out of there. With something like this, but with the slab side one, it's just a smooth in and out. Same thing with the this guy here. Same thing with this. Like steel, like see how I pulled that out real nice. That's a regular Tapco mag. Going back in is a little harder. Thanks, Chuck. But they will go in and out a little bit more like a steel mag. Just real smooth.
Yeah, that fits way better than ones. I think the vest I have is set up for AR mags, but it doesn't specify on the on the parts, you know, like the serial number. But the AR mags come out way easier just because of the bend, which sucks because I have it set up for AK mags.
Yeah, that's what she said. The bend is all in the bend.
It's all in the bend.
It's on the bend, hit the spot.
Well, I'm glad Tactical Cat made it showing tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really pissing me off.
That's the best part.
Yeah, it's to the point where, yeah, you little bastard, I'm talking about you. He's sitting there looking at me like, what? You know? Yes, you're going to be banned from this room while I'm sitting here, asshole.
Now, that's what cats are supposed to do. He used to have one that sat on the couch as I was watching TV and just smacked me in the face with his tail. I'd look at him and he'd be like, dude, he would just look back at me and smack me again. Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, someone needs a tactical vest for Tactical Cat.
No, he's got his. Well, he's sitting by it now. He just jumped down, realized it was on the floor, and he's sitting by it right now. He loves, like, my plate carrier, battle belt, any of my stuff. I bring in one of my bug out bags, one of my survival bags, something my cat set it down. He's all over it. It's that Cordura nylon that he just likes it.
You could make them a little vest though and hold a couple like Glock 19 mags or something, you know, so like you're running.
Yeah.
Like,
Get him a little canteen.
come over here.
Little four roses under there in a barrel, good to go.
The only problem with a cat, if he was relying on the cat to come to you with supplies, it's going to do the exact opposite of anything you want it to do.
He'd bring it to the bad guy, huh?
He would take it to the bad guy, yeah.
Yeah. Here you go. Here, shoot my dad. here's 2 more mags. Hey. Run some C4 on him then. Couple claymores.
All right. Let's go ahead and, if it's okay with y'all, unless y'all have another subject you want to bring up, let's wrap this up. Like I said, unless you have something else you want to talk about. We'll try to keep this at right at 2 hours. So, okay, nobody's speaking up, so I guess we'll keep it at 2 hours and go ahead and end this. I'm going to let everybody do an outro. And Rosie, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Another fun chat tonight. Makes me anxious. I can't wait till Jen's shoulder's recovered. We can get out on the range. Again, I'm very excited about that. Always something interesting going on in the channels. And just say Wednesday night and Saturday nights I have a chat too. Everybody's welcome. It's a good time. It's kind of freewheeling, but you need them once in a while too. But I do like these very focused chats on the economy and prepping. I think they're very helpful, especially for all the exchange of information.
Thanks for being on. Okay, I don't know if I caught that in time. Thanks for being on. I always appreciate you being here, Rosie, and your insight into the economy and things that's going on, and a very big plus to the panel. So thank you. Rick, is your 6 covered?
Thanks again, TR. I appreciate it, Matt, Rosie, as always. I do have a lot of fun hanging out with you guys and talking to all the people in the external. But get your ass out there and vote if you haven't yet. You know, every vote possibly does count. But, you know, make sure you take a look at these guys' channels. If you like them, subscribe to them. If you want to learn a bunch of knot stuff and some other gun crap, come on over to the channel and subscribe. Bam. That's it.
All right. So says the man with the girly shoes. But anyway, and Matt.
the upper tie.
All right, fuckers.
Yeah, Rick. I mean,
don't even do it.
At least
don't go there, man.
At least it wasn't the high heels you were wearing the other day. At least it's Vans this time. I'm Matt from Resist Tyranny, Guns, Gear, and Politics, and this show is brought to you by Ocean Spray Cran Raspberry. By Ocean Spray Cran Raspberry and lacing your boots correctly. Thanks for having me on, TR. Yeah, I mean, as soon as I can get out in the desert, I live in the middle of it and I can't get out there. There's going to be a whole bunch of. I got training videos I'm have scheduled to make. I have some reviews I have scheduled to make. I have a couple things I'm going to do indoors here. Just all kinds of stuff on my plate. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it. But go check out the channel, and it's also on all the social networks and all that stuff. So thanks for having me on, TR.
Thanks for being on, Matt. One question for you, Matt. I seen I hate to prolong this, but I seen a video by California Prepper today, and it makes me wonder, when you go shooting in the desert, is it BLM property?
Yes. It's the weirdest thing here in Arizona. The state is super, super, super gun friendly. You know, constitutional carry and all that. But state trust land we can't shoot on. You can hunt on it with a permit, but you can't shoot on it. BLM land, as long as it's not one of like a handful of places that BLM has said no, and that was because of trash and people shooting up the saguaro cactuses. Yeah, all BLM land is pretty much open, fair, open game for shooting.
Yeah, just a little food for thought. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that in there because I know in the video I seen, he's like, I know everybody like hates the BLM right now, but that's where I go shoot. So I was just kind of curious if that was the same for you. So
Yeah, it's like that. Like I said, the only places BLM land that we're not allowed to shoot is because people have fucked it up. You
yeah,
know, like one of the biggest things is damage to the saguaro cactuses. Um, those things are, for anybody out there that doesn't know, the saguaro cactuses are those big tall cactuses with like the arms that come out. Those things, if they have big long arms like that, they're probably a couple hundred years old. They take forever to get like that, and so people go out in the desert, shoot those things up. They're federally protected.
and they should be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I believe this desert around here is the only place in the United States that has them as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Anyway, I just a little food for thought. Everybody's like anti-BLM, and not that I'm pro-BLM, but at the same time, they do have some purposes, and not everything's fucking evil out there, So with that, I want to end it, and thanks everybody for coming out. We'll say good night. Thanks for dropping by, and we'll see you either Sunday or next Tuesday, if not on somebody else's chat, like Rosie's, who has a chat tomorrow night and Saturday night. So, later, everybody.